Hello everyone, this is Aryan from More Than Just a Game, and today we will go through setting up a slots creator from our marketplace. We also offer free and paid online support, so feel free to contact us for any questions or suggestions. For this tutorial, I'll be using Unreal Engine 5.4, but the product works on any version newer than 4.21, so you can use any version that's compatible. First, I'll go through our parent files to show you what options they contain. They're inside the blueprints folder, and first we'll go through the data assets folder. Inside this folder, there's a structure that contains some info about our icons that we are going to use in the slots. So first one is icon name, and second is icon win rates. So if you win a winning line on that icon, what multiplier of your bet you would get. And this is an array, and it should contain three members, and it would define what ratio you would win if you get 3 in one line, and then 4 in one line, and then 5 in one line. And then is the icon probability. It's the chances of this icon appearing on your reels. And then the frames. This is an array of texture 2Ds. And this could be just one frame or many frames depending on whether you want to animate the icon when you win it in a line or not. If you want to animate it, you should just fill this array with the frames of that animation. Then we have an enum. This would define the animation types that the reels support. If you want to add another animation type, you should add it here and do the logic later in some files that we'll discuss. And by default, we have these three animations that we will see in the example later on. Then we also have this data asset that contains some info about our slot version. I'll just show this in a parent-child class. That would make sense over there. So inside a slots versions in the template, you can see some versions we've included, and you can just open up any of them you want. And here is the example data asset. Inside here, you can see a lot of variables you can customize as you desire, and I'll just go through them one by one. Most of the variables here have some description if you hover over them, but I'll explain anyways. So first one is the version name. This will be used for displaying in the 2D lobby that we'll discuss later. Also for its save class. Inside the save class, we save data such as how much of a jackpot the user has built up. This version name is used in there because each version should come with a different jackpot. Then is the slots widget class. This is where the logic of the slots happens, and I'll go over how to instantiate this class later on. This Boolean variable would define whether the icon's animations are frame driven. That would mean if you have like 10 frames for the animation of the icon that you want to animate, if the icon is one in a line, or you can just use some code animations. It would just make the scale bigger and smaller if you win that line, and it would be just one frame of animation. This is again the same thing for big win animations. Big win animations happen when you win a large amount of winning, and it would just display some widget to show you that you've won a mega win or a super win or something like that. This next variable would define whether this version would support full whiles or not. Full whiles is when you have a while appear in the middle row of your slots, and if that happens, the entire column would be whiles. And if you set this to false, that wouldn't happen. But if you set it to true, the whole column would be whiles. The next variable is the start value for jackpot for this version. So when the player hasn't built up any jackpot, the jackpot will start at 2000 and is built up later on, and if you hit the jackpot it would be reset to this value again. This next variable is the jackpot multiplier. This defines how much the jackpot would be built up with each spin. So if you bet 100, 1 would be added up to your jackpot. If you bet 1000, 10 would be added up to your jackpot. This next variable is max bet per line. So you can define how many lines you want to bet on and how much you want to bet per line. This would make sense later on when we play the game and you see how it works. This is auto spin delay. There is an auto spin feature in the template, so you can just turn on auto spin and you wouldn't have to press a spin each time you want to spin. And this defines the delay, so when it's set to 1, it would automatically spin each second. This next one is just a pay table screens. These are just some textures you would use to explain how much of a winning you would get and how the lines play out and stuff like that. In the next category of variables, we have the Reels animation type. We have these 3 built in, which I showed you in that enum. The next variables depend on which one of these you select. So if you select full slot spin, you should set these 3 up. First one would be icons animation duration. This would be the length of time it would take to animate the icon, and this would work only if you set this to true. The next one is spinning acceleration. This is the amount of speed that's added to the reels when they're spinning, or the amount of speed that's deducted from the speed. So it's both acceleration and deceleration. The next one is maximum spinning speed for the slots. So the spinning slots won't go over this speed you set up here. The next one is block drop animation duration. This would only need to be set up if you set this to this. It would just basically explain how long the entire animation of the 5 reels dropping would take. And this is also, again, if you set this to 1 by 1, you need to set this variable up. This is again how much the animation should take. We also have a bonus wheel implemented in the template. If you win bonus icon in a winning line, you would get a bonus wheel and it comes with prizes. These 2 variables define how much of an acceleration the spinning wheel should have and how much its max speed would be. These are in angles, so the max spinning speed would be 20 angles in this example. The next ones would be defining the properties for big win animations. So we have big win, super win, and mega win. So these would be large wins you get. Over here we define how much time the big win animation should take. So it would take 1 second in this example. The next one is the threshold for big win. So if you get anything more than 5 times of your bet, you would get big win. If you get anything more than 10 times over your bet, you get a super win, and the same deal with mega win and 20. These are the animation frames. If you set these to 10 frames in an array, you need to set this to true. So it wouldn't just be a code driven animation, and it would be frames driven animation. Next, there are just some sound effects we have. So this is for bonus icon appearing. We've just set them to the same sound wave for all of them, but you can set them up to different sound waves. So you can let the player know they've won something special. This is for bonus icon appearing. This is for bonus wheel spinning. This is for jackpot icon appearing. This is for when the reel stops spinning. This is for big win sound. This works for big win, super win, and mega win. This is for reel spinning, so it would play when the reel starts spinning. Sorry, for when the wheel is spinning, like continuously, it would play. This is for when the reels start spinning. The next properties are for the 2D lobby. You may or may not want to use the 2D lobby. We'll go through that later on. But if you do want to have a 2D lobby in your game, you would need to set this up. This is basically just a thumbnail for making this version appear in the lobby, and this is the display name for that version of slots you have. By the way, these these 2D lobbies are compatible among all of our casino projects. We'll just explain that later on into more details. Next, we have an array of that structure I showed you before, which defined properties for our icons. Here we have set up 14 different icons. You can have as many as you want. So I'll just go through one of them so you can see how it works. This is an icon name. This wouldn't be displayed anywhere, but it's used to detect if you want something or not. So for different icons, we've set up like different names, so the code could detect if you've won something. Then there are the win rates. This would define that if you get the icon A, 3 of them in a win line, you would get twice of your bet. If you get 4 of them, you would get 5 times your bet, and if you get 5 of them in a winning line, you would get 10 times your bet returned to you. This is the probability. So 0.12 would mean that you have this icon has a 12% chance of appearing. And these are the frames. I've just used one frame because over here we've set this to false. If you want to have like icons animating, you need to set this to true and then set up your frames in this array. For each version of the slots, we have these two other classes. One of them is just a slot machine that you instantiate from SM Casino Slots parent machine class. There isn't much to do. You can just change its looks. You can change the mesh, the material, the texture, or anything. And yeah, that's it. When you drop an instance of that class into your map, you have to set up this variable too. This basically defines what version of slots this machine has to play. So when you get close to this machine and press the E button, which version of slots should play, you need to set this up. Then there is this widget blueprint. This is instantiated from this class, WBV slots parent class, parent slots class. And all you have to do is go through that parent class. Let me just show you. So when you open up the parent class, the whole logic is here, but you wouldn't have to worry about this. You just need the widgets tree. All you have to do is just copy this main canvas and paste it into here. But a simpler way is just using our instantiated classes we have set up in our example. So we have like 4 of them, one in this version, one in this version, and so on. You can just use these and do the visual customizations you may want, and you wouldn't have to worry about the logic behind it. But if you do decide to just create a new class based on that, like here, you would just create a child class from that. What you would see is this without any sort of like tree in here. All you have to do is just copy this main canvas from the parent class and paste it into here. But when you do that, let me just show you. When you do that and hit compile, it would show a bunch of errors. This is because uh, some variables have the same name inside this child class and parent class. So like we have pay table button and we have the same thing here. So it would just not work. All you have to do is just add some underscore or something to make it a different variable, and do that for all the variables that exist inside this tree. And then what you have to do is go inside the graph and set something like this up. So from event construct, you would call the function override widget views and override real animations. And these are like the ones that we have renamed. So this in the tree would be auto button ancient times. This is different from the name we have inside the parent class. So you have to like hook them up to this function and do the same for the animations, because you have to like copy the animations from the parent class to inside the widget you create from that parent class. But if you don't want to go through all that, you can just use one of our examples and like change the textures, change the colors, change the text, or like replace them, change their positions and all that. So you wouldn't have to go through that process. The same deal with making child widgets exists for our lobby blueprint, but because it's unlikely that you may want more than one lobby widget, you can just directly edit the parent class if you want to make visual changes to it. It exists inside here and you can just redesign it as you desire. But if you want, you can do the same thing for the lobby widget. And what you have to do is making a child class of that and like copying the parent widget from here inside here, renaming the variables, and then hooking them up to this function over here. And if you do that, you should remember to set this to true, and you would just set this up to the replacements. Okay, I'll now show you how the game plays out both in 3D view and 2D view. So this is an example of how the game plays out when you're using a 3D lobby. You wouldn't need to make any more additional work if you wanna use the 3D lobby. You just basically drop your child machine into the scene, and you would need to set up that data asset variable, and that's it. When you play and get close to one of these, a widget would appear on top of it saying press E to play, and when you do, you see the slots widget, and these are basically based on the properties you set up in the data asset. So lines can go from 1 to 50. Total width is calculated based on the max bit per line you set up in your data asset. So because we set it to 50, this can't go more than 2500, because currently it's set to 1 per line and lines is set to 50. It would total width would be 50. So right now it's set to 2 per line, and because lines is 50, it would be 100, and so on. So it can't go over 2500 because we've set it to 50. And this is the autoplay we discussed earlier. This is max bed. This basically sets it to max bed, both lines and both bed per line. And yeah, it just plays out like that. This is just an example of one of our animations, just for the sake of displaying it. It would play out like this. It's the block by block animation, so I didn't win anything in this example. I could just set it to autoplay so you can see how the winning animation plays. Yeah, this is both the winning animation you're seeing here and the big win animation you're seeing. So this super win, with its scale going up and down, is the code driven animation. If you will make it a frames driven animation, you just have to set up that boolean variable inside the dataset and just hook up the textures for the animation. So that's it. You can just play around and see the other animations type we have in the template. For the 2D lobby, you have to have this actor inside your scene. This exists inside this directory. It's the 2D lobby actor. You put it inside your scene and then just set this to true. And you have to hook up the data assets you want to have in this 2D lobby. And then the lobby widget. We talked about that already. So when you set this to true, when you play the game, you would see the 2D lobby with different different versions of the slots you have. And when you click on any of them, that would just open up and you can play it like you do in your 3D lobby. That's it for our slots creator template. Uh, if you have any questions about where to change some logic of the code, feel free to contact us because explaining the entire functionality would take too long for a tutorial. So if you have questions about changing the code, just contact us and we'll tell you where to change that code and how to change it. And if you have any questions, problems, anything at all, feel free to contact us.